And happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Blathering Boomer. Um, I have a lot to talk about tonight. There's a lot going on, a whole lot going on in the world. I'm going to start with a little story, though. Maybe it's actually a big story. It's a big story about a life-changing series of events for me. Back in 1976, I was locked up. I was in prison, and um, and the prison had a library, and I was a pretty regular patron of the library, So anyway, there was this guy there named another inmate named Sal Candido. He'd be out there with an easel and a paintbrush and a canvas, and he'd be painting. And he was an artist. He was from San Francisco. He used to tell a lot of stories. I would tell him stories. Yeah, and his real name was Sal Candido. Hey, if he sees this and wants to sue me, I'll just be happy to hear from him. And anyway, so he was an artist from San Francisco. Maybe he still is. I haven't heard from him since my release. Anyway, several conversations into, after meeting him, and he got to know me a little bit, he suggested a book for me to read, and that book was The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. He seemed to think that book would resonate with me, although resonate was not a word that was used much in 1976. So he probably just said something like, I'd find it interesting. Yeah, okay, fine. So I ordered it from the prison library, and the prison library told me no. Now, mind you, the prison library very freely gave me Helter Skelter. And, I guess my LSD conviction precluded my ability to borrow a book that arguably glorifies psychedelic experimentation, as the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test does. And they were fine with giving me something that talks about how psychedelics turn people into murderous savages. So there was that. But yeah, I was 22 years old, and I refused to take no for an answer. So I talked to one of my friends. I think it might have been Jeff Stryberg, but he rests in peace. But anyway, what the friend did, he put the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test book, hardcover, into the cover of another book. And he brought in the book when he came to visit me. And so now I was literally in possession of literary contraband. But the book got in. So maybe it wasn't my brightest idea, since I was supposed to see the parole board a few months later, but the act of having the book smuggled in was kind of exciting at the time. So yeah, I read the book in secret, and I never revealed what I was reading to anyone. I probably told Sal. I mean, I don't recall, but I must have told Sal. At least certainly after I was done with it, I must have told Sal. So and as I read this book, and again, I'm reading this in secret, alone in my little area. I'm not going to. It wasn't a cell, but I can't really call it a room. And I'm reading about characters: Ken Kesey, Mountain Girl, Paul Foster, Gretchen Fetchin, Wavy Gravy, who at the time went by the name Hugh Romney. I was transfixed. I was truly transfixed, and the fact that this book was forbidden material instantly transformed those characters into my secret comic book heroes, and was the genesis of what was to become my hippie dream. Okay, that's hippy dippy, but it's kind of true. Little did I know at the time that I'd eventually meet all the people I just named and much more. So in 1981, 5 years later, I finally got to Berkeley. And what an affirmation it was as I drove into Berkeley, and the sign on the side of the highway said, "Welcome to Berkeley, population, whatever it was." At that exact second, the song, not Kenny Rogers, the other Kenny Loggins song, "This Is It," came on the radio. I'm like, whoa, okay, I am right where I'm supposed to be. But it gets way, way more, maybe better, maybe not, but way more complicated. Because I was in town to see the Grateful Dead at the Greek Theater in Berkeley. Great venue, by the way. Psychedelicized for the show, and long series of long stories later, ended up at a hippie commune, a high-profile hippie family. I don't feel comfortable mentioning the name of the family, but anybody who knows me knows who it was. And ended up at their house that night, and it was I was in bliss. I was in absolute hippie heaven. Not lost on me that I was meeting some of my comic book heroes up close and personal. It was mind blowing, and this was the band of misfits that I've been looking for since high school. I got them, they got me instantly. You know, so that relationship developed, and eventually I started going with them to rock festivals. 1982, there was the Oregon Country Fair. A week or so later, it might have been the very next week, was the first US Festival down in the San Bernardino Mountains. And so I have quite a bit of experience with rock festivals, and I have to say that Appalled doesn't even come close to where rock festivals are today. And I'm going to get into a lot of that story. Kind of leaves off in a place that's going to lead to a few different things that I want to talk about tonight. And I have some clips ready, but I have no particular running order. But I guess for now, let's morph that one into Coachella and what happened at Coachella this week, because this is not funny. This is purely disgusting. For those of you who don't know, a band named Kneecap played at Coachella, and they had a big sign up. So there it is. Fuck Israel, free Palestine. Now, I got to tell you, again, this is at a rock festival. Is it lost on any of you that October 7th happened at a music festival? And by the way, I hesitate to call Coachella a rock festival. I even hesitate to call it a music festival. I don't even know what these bands are playing these days. Once upon a time, I thought about going there when bands like The Who would play, but I don't even consider it now. Anyway, so that's up there on the screen. Fuck Israel, free Palestine. And free Palestine, in case you don't know, that's a dog whistle. You know what a dog whistle is? It's like a secret, I'm saying this and the people who know will actually hear it, just like a dog whistle. You blow into it, only the dogs hear it. So free Palestine is a dog whistle for wipe Israel off the face of the map. Get the Jews out from the river to the sea. That's what free Palestine is. So here you have a band at Coachella, at a music festival, saying that about basically supporting a bunch of so-called people who attacked a music festival. Imagine if that happened at Coachella. And I have so anyway, I'm going to hit play on this because Sharon Osbourne had something to say about it. And let's get a read.
People are coming out and standing up and actually taking a stand against the mob, against the trend. And one such example is Sharon Osbourne, who has called for the Irish musicians to have their visas revoked. Here's what she said. She said, Coachella 2025 will be remembered as a festival that compromised its moral and spiritual integrity. Golden Voice, the festival organizer, facilitated this by allowing artists to use the Coachella stage as a platform for political expression. I mean, I would go further than saying political expression. This is racist expression. It's anti-Semitic expression. At a time when the world is experiencing significant unrest, music should serve as an escape, not a stage for political discourse. While festivals like Coachella showcase remarkable talent from around the globe, music's primary purpose is to unite people. It should not be a venue for promoting terrorist organizations or spreading hate. Green Day, a band I personally admire, chose to share their views on the Middle East during their Coachella performance. While I respect their right to express their opinions, such discussions would have been more appropriate at their own concert, not at a festival. Kneecap, an Irish rap group, took their performance to a different level by incorporating aggressive political statements. Again, that's an understatement. Their actions included projections of anti-Israel messages and hate speech, and this band openly support terrorist organizations. By the way, just to confirm what Sharon Osbourne is saying, this is Kneecap that were last year at the London O2 One member is draped in a Hezbollah flag, shouted to the crowd, "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah." And as the campaign against anti-Semitism in the UK said, they should be reported to the police. And Hamas and Hezbollah are both prescribed terrorist organizations. So, that's just the law. The law should be enforced here. Anyway, Sharon continues, this behavior raises concerns about the appropriateness of their participation in such a festival, and further shows they are booked to play in the USA. Reports indicate that Golden Voice was unaware of Kneecap's political intentions when they were booked. However, after witnessing their performance during the first weekend, allowing them to perform again the following weekend suggests support of their rhetoric and a lack of due diligence. Scooter Brown, who has been involved in organizing the Nova Music Festival exhibit, a tribute to the victims of the October 7th attacks in Israel, has defended Golden Voice CEO Paul Tollett as he attended the Nova exhibit. If Tollett visited the Nova exhibit, he would have seen the portraits of every person that was killed that day and heard some of their voices on cell phone recordings sent home to their loved ones. It is difficult to comprehend how, if somebody saw this exhibit firsthand, that they could book a band on their festival that is in support of what was done that day and supports the group responsible for this mass murder. Not one IDF soldier was killed that day, just 1,400 innocent civilians. I mean, IDF soldiers were killed on that day, but the point is that this was an unprovoked attack, and it's an attack against a sovereign state. Furthermore, the independent artists group, which represents Kneecap, includes individuals of Jewish heritage. It is disheartening that they have not used their positions to prevent the promotion of such controversial messages. Shame on them. As someone with both Irish Catholic on my mother's side and Ashkenazi Jewish heritage on my father's side, and extensive experience in the music industry, I understand the complexities involved. Golden Voice's claim of being blindsided by Kneecap's performance seems implausible given the circumstances. I know for a fact that certain people in the industry had written to Golden Voice, airing their concerns around the booking of Kneecap. I urge you to join me in advocating for the revocation of Kneecap's work visa. I tell you, I have to say, first of all, good on Sharon for standing up to the tide of hatred. Good for her. Secondly, people love to say, I understand it's nuanced, it's complicated. I've come to realize after October 7th, it's not nuanced. It's not complicated. It's very simple. One side wants the other side dead.
First of all, I appreciate what Sharon Osbourne said, although I do think she could have worded it stronger, and I'm going to get to somebody who words it a whole lot stronger in just a moment. I also appreciate the host correcting her factually about some IDF soldiers were actually killed on October 7th. Now, that's one approach to what happened in Coachella, and I'd like to share a moment or two of perhaps a stronger approach.
We're at Coachella, getting ready to watch Alicia Keys or Charlie XCX or Billie Eilish. If paragliders from Mexico with machine guns and rockets started landing, and trucks from Mexico broke through the border and they started mowing down everybody at Coachella, can you imagine how you would feel? Can you imagine the response from the United States? Can you imagine the response from the world? If at Coachella week 2, 2025, while you're partying, drinking this, that, and the third, you're popping pills and getting ready to watch Alicia Keys or Billie Eilish, if paragliders came in and animals came in from Mexico or anywhere, let's just say they came in from San Diego, or let's say they came in from Los Angeles for whatever reason, who cares? You wouldn't care what their reason or agenda was. You wouldn't care what their rationale or their feelings were. You'd go, oh my God. Oh my God. This is horrible. And wait, not only are they killing and raping people, they're kidnapping people from Coachella. And not only kidnapping, raping, murdering people from Coachella, they're kidnapping, raping, and murdering people from the surrounding areas of Coachella. Out there in the valley in Palm Springs, they're going into homes and taking people and killing them and raping them and doing whatever they want. Can you imagine the response? What would the response be? What would your response be? You'd be like, get those people back ASAP. Find the people that did it and kill them all.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wasn't going to show that clip, but the Sharon Osbourne thing got me pretty fired up. I am pretty fired up. I've been to rock festivals many, many times. In November of 23, not too long after October 7th, Steph and I were in Vegas and we saw U2 at the Sphere. And the Sphere is an amazing, I can't even say enough about this. I'm not going to try to describe it, but there's this one effect they did where they kind of simulated nighttime becoming dawn. And everything gradually got lighter and you kind of saw a little bit of a sunrise. And as the sun came up, you saw the entire audience. And I sat there thinking, wow, can you imagine what it must have been to be at a music festival and see those hang gliders? They probably thought the hang gliders were cool when they first saw them. I imagine they must have, especially people were coming onto their drugs at dawn. But obviously it was hell coming to earth. Anyway, so I played the Michael Rappaport video and there it is. So I have a new word, and the new word is apostate. And I think apostate might have the same root as the word apocorus. I used to consider myself an apocorus, but apparently I don't know enough to be one, which is fine with me. But in the Jewish religion, an apocorus is somebody who's studied Talmud and really, really knows what the deal is, and yet still rejects the religion. An apostate apparently is a broader term for basically somebody who's for any religion or any group or any cult, somebody who's a former member. Actually, I did a search, and here's your definition according to Yahoo. Or apostate, a person who renounces a religion or political belief or principle, abandoning a religious or political belief or principle. So that's my new word, and apparently I am an apostate. I am an apostate, because getting back to the Berkeley story, that was the next 8 years of my life. I spent 8 years going between Berkeley and Laytonville. And during that time, I managed a great rock and roll band, best bar band in Berkeley, got married, had 2 children, got divorced. So it was a whole, the hippie dream came crashing down with my divorce, and I moved to Southern California. But I stayed in touch all those years I stayed in touch. So, but after the 2016 election, or after the 2016 primaries, rather, things began to drift apart heavily. I was right with everybody in what I could still consider to be my community up in Northern California. I was right with them when it came to Obama. At the time, I thought Obama was a disruptor and Hillary Clinton represented the mainstream, which was increasingly corrupt. And I was really, really happy that Obama, even though I liked Bill Clinton as president, Bill Clinton might be my favorite 20th century president, or certainly my favorite president of my voting life. But there was something wrong with Hillary, and there was something wrong with how she debated Obama. So I celebrated with them. I literally cried tears of joy when he got elected. It wasn't until much, much later that I saw through him. But at the time, that's where it was. And then when Bernie started running in 2015, I was right with them. I was literally right with them. I was at one of these old hippies' 80th birthday parties, and it's kind of it was actually a music festival with 3 stages, and you had Ben from Ben and Jerry's making impassioned speeches pro Bernie. I was all about pro Bernie. We're gonna reform the healthcare system, and we're gonna get corruption out of government. We're gonna get money out of politics. All those good things that Bernie stood for, and then they cheated him, as we all know. And then that is when this one went that way, the rest went that way, and I'm the one who went that way, because I could not abide by the cheating. I could not abide by, after the chairwoman of the DNC stepped down because of the cheating, that the nominee named Hillary, instead of denouncing the cheating, she wasn't the nominee yet, she might as well have been, with all the super delegates and whatnot. But instead of denouncing the cheating, she made Debbie Wasserman Schultz her honorary campaign manager. And that's when I realized they are quickly becoming irredeemable. This is not the party of JFK and FDR, and this is not the Democrats I used to know. And as I might get to in another video, I think the Democrat Party of today has a warped view of oppressor and oppressed, which is which. Because good people will side with the oppressed over the oppressor. And that's apparently, a lot of the prevailing sentiment at Coachella, because somehow when you kill, rape, and kidnap, you're the oppressed. It doesn't make any sense. And sure, there have been issues, and maybe issues is too benign a word, but there's other ways of solving it. Other ways of solving it. I'll even go to the extreme. I'll go to the extreme. Come in on your hang gliders, knock the fences down, do all that stuff, and kidnap a bunch of people. Grab them. But don't harm them. Don't rape them. Don't kill anybody. You have a point to make. Okay, and I'm not going to say fine, but strategically, they didn't care. They wanted this to be what happens. They wanted Israel to go in full force and have collateral damage of civilians, instead of maybe holding some hostages and saying, hey, here are the reforms we need. And if we get these reforms, we'll start releasing hostages, and treat the hostages like guests, not spit on them, ridicule them. This was an act. There is no I should say this is a completely black and white situation for me. It might not have been as it unfolded in real time, because I was pretty heavily propagandized by some of the so-called progressive media people I was hanging out with back then. But it didn't take long. It didn't take more than a day or two when the reports came in about what actually happened that day for me to completely realize that no, this was these are people who just want everybody in Israel dead. And apparently, and I don't know this for a fact, but I keep hearing reports that the plan was for this attack to happen in the south and Hezbollah to do a similar attack in the north, and they'd meet in the middle and basically destroy Israel. Didn't happen, though. Again, I can't go too far down that rabbit hole. I don't have the facts to back it up, but it's worth looking into, and I will do a little more research into it. So that's the Coachella story. I'm gonna jump around here a little bit. So I'm gonna get back to the Berkeley thing. So yeah. For all those years, I'm up there. It's my life. It's all my friends. Even after I moved to Southern California, I would drive up there all the time and hang out. But when the whole Hillary Bernie thing happened, and I started making noise on Facebook about, hey, this is the year to vote third party because we don't want Trump. I was definitely still in the we can't have Trump mindset, and we really don't want Hillary. So let's see if we can get somebody to take a few states or to make some noise or something, or to show, to turn a lesson. Oh my God, hey, if Trump's election in 2016, to me, which I wasn't happy about, but I wasn't dismayed by it either. And I've said this before. I felt that the Democrats needed to completely reform. They were hopelessly corrupt. They still are. And if you live in a house and you have termites, and the termites are just eating your house from within the walls, and it gets to the point one day where you finally call Orkin or whoever, and they come and they say, got bad news for you, Spluvo. Your house is unsalvageable. What would you do? You want to save the land, but you have no choice at that point. You got to knock the house down and build a new one. And I believe that's what has to happen to the Democrat Party. They are hopelessly corrupt, hopelessly arrogant. Oh, hey, hey, I made my first meme today. I did. Grok is one of my new best friends. Let me show you what I made today. I just put it up on Twitter just a few minutes before I went on. So There it is. There's the contrast in the Democrat Party last time I supported them. Because that's the other thing, too. It was a natural progression to go from from Obama to Bernie, and it felt like a natural progression to go from Bernie to Tulsi. But somehow that met resistance. It was all these hippies became mainstream Democrats. I did not see that coming. So there's a big divide, and people get upset with people who vote for Trump. People have one level of dismay or disgust or whatever negative emotion adjective you want to use for MAGA people, for right wingers, for conservatives, for Republicans, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a special place of animosity in their hearts for people like me who've been where they are and have rejected it, because I reject it. I don't reject any of the human principles that I've always valued, but I reject the Democrats being the answer to that. That party needs to be destroyed and rebuilt from the bottom up. And Mr. Hogg is not the answer to that. Not the answer to that. I want to show that. I kind of like that. Again, it's my first meme. So how about let me see. I got a couple of notifications. There it is. What a difference a decade makes. Look at that vice chair on the left. What a wonderful, wonderful leader she was, she is, and she will continue to be. And look at this guy. Does that guy on the right inspire allegiance? I don't think so. Let's see. I got a couple of notifications. Anybody liking it? Of course. Yeah. Thank you, Dawn. Hey. So there it is. There it is. I'm not happy with the Democrat Party. It's just so
fun fact. One of your congresspersons, what's her name? Miss Ilhan Umar. She was also raising her voice against Sheikh Hasina, and she was siding with this particular group of people. Yeah, she was calling to sanction Bangladesh just 6 months back. So not 6, 8 to 10 months back. Yeah, so I just do not understand what the Democratic Party have against us. What did we ever do to them?
The Democratic Party have, in my opinion, a very warped view of oppressor versus oppressed. There are 3 videos that I've done with Saifullah regarding Bangladesh. In the first 2, he gives the history. He goes from the 1971 revolution to the 2024 uprising, or whatever you want to call it, the crisis, where Sheikh Hasina left the country. And there's basically been not quite anarchy, but in that direction. There's just horrible violence happening in the streets. Nobody's doing anything about it. Hindus are being persecuted. They're trying to move towards Sharia law. And these people just want to be free. It's like I said in that. They just want to be free. 3 million people died in the revolution in 1971. So Pakistan is behind this. And apparently there was a terrorist attack in Kashmir. I can't believe we're still talking. I'm on the way home from work today. I'm listening to the radio, and they talked about the terrorist attack in Kashmir. Apparently 27 people were killed a couple of days ago. And they reference Kashmir as disputed territory. I'm 71 years old. I was in 7th grade back in 1967. But I remember in middle school, in social studies, we talk about the current events of the world. They were talking about the conflict between India and Pakistan and how it was over Kashmir. I can't believe how many years later is this? This is 1967. I'm losing my mind from math. 58 years later. 58 years later, they're still squabbling over Kashmir. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole with Kashmir. I don't want to talk too much about it because I haven't done the research I need. But I have spoken. I've communicated with Saifullah, and he's likely we're probably going to record a clip of him breaking down what's actually happening there in Kashmir. I was kind of saving this for towards the end because last time I presented something that involved Bill Maher, YouTube stopped my live stream. Twitter didn't. So it does call into question they said it was a copyright infringement issue, but I don't get it. It would be one thing if I showed something from Bill Maher's Real Time that I got off of the HBO site, because that's a pay site, and I could see where me reproducing something that people pay for and me doing it for free could be a copyright issue. But this was on a public web page, so it's hard to believe that happened. So I'm gonna take another chance. I'm gonna take a chance. If I get cut off, the boomer has whatevered. But I do want to get into this whole apostate thing. So and again, I get this. I've gotten this more than once. I got this from one of my good friends in Northern California. He went on my YouTube page. He gave an unhinged rant about Trump, and then that led to an email exchange where, one of the main things he said was, "How does a guy like me, who should know better, support Trump?" And and again, it's not so much that I support Trump. It's just that the Democrats are absolutely worthless, absolutely horrible, and we were not presented with an alternative. And tell you the truth, I certainly do like some of the promises he made. Now, he hasn't kept them all. Ukraine war wasn't ended in one day. The hostages are still in Israel. I'm still kind of befuddled about what happened to Martin, Bobby, and JFK. So it's far from perfect, but if the election was today, I'd still vote for him. And people can't abide that. I have a couple of friends down here who I don't see anymore. They and a couple of friends in New York, same thing. They openly brag about how they would kick people out of their houses if they thought that these people supported Trump, or if they knew they supported Trump. How is that okay? Where's the conversation? To the credit of a couple of people, and it's the minority, unfortunately, who ask me, "Why do you feel that way, Blathering Boomer?" And I answer them, and a conversation happens, and we don't necessarily agree on everything. In fact, we agree on very little as far as the solution goes, but we agree on very much of what the ideal situation is for humanity. We all want the same things. It's a big page from my playbook for how to deal with somebody who you can't agree with about anything political, but is still a good person. And what I say that usually, not always, usually works is, look, we're all good people here. We all want the same things. We just differ on our paths to achieving that. So my path to achieving that is tear down that termite digested house that is the Democrat Party, flatten it, and build it back up again with decent people. Try to be the Democrat Party that we turned to because we couldn't handle the Republicans, because the Republicans were a bunch of religious right maniacs. That's where I was most of my life. I never, ever, ever voted Republican. Not until Trump. Anyway, the point being, I've been a Democrat supporter my whole life, so I'm a true apostate. So let's find out together what is meant by apostate. And I'm going to share my screen once again. And if I get cut off by YouTube for sharing this, sorry, folks. I appreciate everybody who's watched so far and who will watch the edited version of this in a day or two. So here we go.
It's the woke guys.
Well,
So
they kill me. They want to kill me just as bad.
probably
Oh, they really do.
no. You've been very outspoken on the woke stuff. Big time.
Yes. I mean, and they, just the way within a religion they hate their own apostates more. I would say they hate me more because I'm supposed to like get on the short bus to Crazy Town with them, and I won't. And yet I'm still a liberal and still like, I mean, we probably could argue all day about Donald Trump and what he's doing, which I'm not down with. But, it's always the people who are closest who think, oh, gosh, you shouldn't have, you're a traitor somehow.
I was going to ask, is it because they thought you were one of them and that...
I am one of them. They're not one of me. Okay. It's the liberals who have...
So they've left you, not you left.
Yeah, well, I feel
fair.
like there's... Liberal and woke are two completely different things. It was the theme of my last stand-up special that I just did a few months ago. And it's basically, I mean, it wasn't the whole special, of course, but it was a large part of it devoted to that, to proving that case. that, what liberals believe, woke is something completely different. It's very often the opposite of it. Liberalism is, let's live in a colorblind society. That's the goal. Woke's goal is, we see race everywhere.
Race obsession.
Yes. Okay. So that's not liberal. You change. Liberal is, there are two-state solution. Woke is river to the sea. Okay. So just don't take my word and say you're that. You took this and took it to, you got off the F train, you fell asleep, and you got off the 20 stops too far, and don't blame me for that.
Thank you, Bill Maher, and thank you. I am glad that I am very glad that I didn't get shut down by YouTube for showing something from Bill Maher. So kind of along the same lines, and this is actually my last thing that I have to share tonight. Here is, I believe her name is Lindy Lee. She was a Kamala Harris advisor, and she is a fellow apostate. Now that that's my new word, apostate, and clearly I am one, because that Bay Area community that I loved, that I lived with, I lived in Southern California, and my entire community was still in Northern California, 400 miles away. I go up there all the time. I was about to share something, but I gotta say something else. I'm not going to argue with anybody because I'm tired of arguing. And basically my arguments consist not of me trying to change anybody's mind, but of me defending my right to feel the way I feel. And I'm fucking sick of that. I really am. So I just, I've kind of walked away. But I know that a couple of people, I know at least one person somewhere between the Grapevine and the Oregon southern border watches this. And the reason I know is because every week I get one, not two, not zero, but every week I get exactly one dislike. And I probably already have the dislike now. But I didn't leave them. They left me. I don't know from labels anymore. I don't know from leftist, liberal. I definitely know what woke is. And I'm definitely not that. I wasn't even politically correct. But I reject labels, left versus right. Bill Maher considers himself a classic old school liberal. Maybe that's what I am too. But what I'm seeing from these people up north right now is mainstream Democrat and intolerance of opposing points of view. I can't do it anymore. So my hope is that, oh my God, I'm not going to say I'd give my left nut. I wouldn't give my left nut. I like my nuts. But that's the expression in Brooklyn. So as a figure of speech, I'd give my left nut for one of my old friends in the Berkeley area who's not woke, but has woken up to woke and maybe sees that things can't keep going, the way of David Hogue and Ilhan Omar. And boy, do I want to hear from you. These arms will be loving and embracing. Man, I feel like, who was the guy? Not the guy that he went to the city where all the bad stuff was happening, and the mission was find one righteous soul, and his wife got turned to a pillar of stone. The whole thing. I'm looking for one righteous soul in the San Francisco Bay Area. Please get on Twitter. You might not be on Twitter yet, but get on Twitter and send me a direct message and make my day. UNG714, ugly nasty guy 714. Let's hear from one more former Democrat, big time supporter.
And by the way, when you tell me that you've gone through some health things as it relates to all this, I've heard that a lot from people that go through this, because suddenly your side hates you. And that is such a slap in the face. It is so at odds with everything that you want to believe as a liberal, that the liberal side will be acting illiberal, that it puts you in this position.
And suddenly the party of DEI, actually some fringe actors on the right also have I don't even, the Streisand effect. You shouldn't really amplify lies.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Heinous stuff. And yeah, this has been the worst period of my life. No contest. No.
So Well, you know what? You're going to have a whole bunch of new people finding you from this that have been through that journey. So that's the beautiful thing, right? Like you tell the truth, and then new people find you. That.
So let's hope some new people find me as well. But you know what? I'm happy with the Blatherverse as is. I like this little intimate group, 9 people. I had 88 people watching live a couple of weeks ago. I almost shit my pants. I mean, wow, and not that I don't want to be the best I can be for the 9 that are watching, and I appreciate every single one of you. Again, our time is very valuable, and the fact that you're willing to take close to an hour of your time, listen to me blather about this and that and whatever nonsense comes out of my mouth, it moves me very deeply. It really, really does. So I appreciate all of it. I appreciate all of you. But I don't appreciate the Democrats. I can't help it. I don't appreciate Kneecap. I don't appreciate Coachella. I don't appreciate anybody who was at Coachella who didn't pick up their fucking sleeping bag, turn around and walk out the second those vile words appeared on the screen. Oh, wow. Wow. Just wow. Yeah. God, I wish I could end this on a better note. I shouldn't have gone back to Coachella because it just makes my blood boil. It really, really does. And the people who cheerlead this, the Max Blumenthals, the Aramates, the combo couch people. Yeah, I said it by name. I'm done with you people. I'm done with all of you. I really am. Misty, shameful part of the Free Assange movement. That was the last time I was side by side with those guys, was the Free Assange movement, which I'm glad he's free, and I'm glad I don't have to do anything with those people anymore because, wow, from the river to the sea, really, really done with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will not be on next week. I will probably not be on the week after. And I don't know, maybe I will be on next week. I'm going to be doing a little traveling. Let's see. There's all kinds of possibilities. I try to consistently do this at least once a week. This is not once this week, but check out. Go to my YouTube page. I'll put links in the description once the dust settles from this. The stuff that's happening in Bangladesh is horrible. It's horrific. It's every day is October 7th there. Maybe not quite to that extent, but it's in that direction. It's 2 battles of the same war. Apparently, Kashmir is now another battle of the same war. People who are extremists, who don't have to feel that non-extremists have a right to live, are a big, big problem. A big, big problem. And unless we recognize that, and unless we start knowing who the oppressors are and who the oppressed is, we are doomed as society. Truly, truly doomed, because this is going to happen over and over and over again until the plug is pulled on this completely. So there we go. There we go. The boomer has blathered.